So Steve and I were actually going to do this together, but maybe I'll just get it started and he can add something in later. First of all, I just want to say thanks to everyone for coming tonight. This is just such a joyous occasion, and we're just so happy to be here celebrating Morgan and Grant. Hopefully I can get through this without starting crying, but I wanted to tell a few things about Grant. Try not to embarrass him too much, but he says, bring it on. I said, okay. Anybody that knows Grant knows that he can be a kind of serious kind of guy. Grant's very black and white. There's absolutely zero gray with Grant. And so I was kind of reflecting back on some stories about Grant when he was little, and the first thing that came to my head was, Grant had a lot of talents when he was little. And he was pretty convinced that he could sing. And he really would tell me all the time, hey, Mom, singing's my talent. I'm really good at singing. And he would sing in the minivan. And there was, I don't think ever a song that actually had the lyrics, "Buy no bunny." But Grant made up his own words pretty much. So, buy no bunny, and I don't even know what the real words were at the time, but, oh yeah, it was buy nobody, find nobody, buy nobody. Yeah, and so buy no bunny was pretty much what he would sing. But, and then there was his other talent where he thought he could run really fast. And he had these special shoes that really made him run fast. And he would always say, Mom, these shoes make me run really fast, look. And he would run from the back of the house, and he'd run all the way down to the fence, and he'd turn around and he'd make sure that I was watching him. And he'd say, look, Mommy, look how these shoes make me run so fast. And of course, I would say, yes, baby, you're such a fast runner. And then, of course, he realized in middle school track that wasn't really quite the case. Yeah. Middle school track, we all realized that running was not, in fact, Grant's talent. Anyhow, he also came to realize at that point that singing was also not his talent. But anyhow, seriously though, Grant does have a lot of talents. He, sorry. Grant has always been just a good person. And he had a lot of talents, really. He always did really well academically. He was a leader to his peers. He played football, he played baseball, went on mission trips. I mean, he's just a good person. And he was always extremely committed and devoted to the Lord. And that makes me so proud. And he's continued to be committed to the Lord, and he's made the Lord the center of his life. And he's always been such a mentor, even to me as his mom, because he's truly just had such dedication I mean, even just from very young, he's always been an extremely devoted Christian. So that makes me very proud, and I truly admire you, Grant, and your devotion to God. And I don't know if anybody knew, but Grant was supposed to go to Huntsville after college. He thought he was going to get a job at a church in Huntsville. I mean, that was the plan, and it didn't work out because COVID hit, and so that's how he landed in the fellows. I mean, it was kind of on the radar, but we really thought he was probably going to go to Huntsville. But then the Lord had a different plan for Grant, and so he ended up in the fellows program. And I just think it's amazing how God just sometimes orchestrates life. And he put Grant in the fellows program to meet his future wife. And what a beautiful thing it is that they were able to form a friendship first and work in ministry together and just grow closer to the Lord together. And I just think that's such a beautiful thing. And then, of course, they fell in love. And, honestly, Grant was always kind of picky, like when it came to dating. Sorry, Grant. Caroline, she'll second that. She knows, yeah. I mean, we'd just sort of be like, gosh, Grant, I mean, what was wrong with her? I mean, she seemed cute, But, truth be told, Grant, and I've even told my mom this before, that I would say, Grant knows in his heart what he's looking for. And I always knew that. I mean, I knew that Grant would know when he found a godly woman that he wanted to marry. I knew that. And so, Morgan, I could not be happier to welcome you into our family. You are beautiful on the inside and out. And we are so excited. I'm so excited to have another daughter, and I know Caroline's excited to have another sister. And Grant, I mean, he scored. I mean, wow. I mean, she's amazing. And both of you are amazing. And I couldn't be more proud to call you my daughter-in-law. And Grant, I can't be more proud that you're my son. So I want to wish the two of you a life full of joy and happiness and love. I love you both. So everybody here, toast Grant and Morgan. We're working on a slideshow, so we're just going to keep toasting while we get it working. So anybody else who wants to come on up?
Am I going to take this off? Hey guys, my name is Parker Watts. I am one of Grant's friends. It's an honor to be one of Grant's friends. I've known Grant for about my whole life, probably about 15, 20 years. Me and Grant met playing baseball together. We were playing on the old Dirt Daubers travel ball baseball team. Dirt Daubers or Diamond Cutters? I don't remember if it was it DK Baseball Club? Okay, yeah, sorry. So many travel ball teams to keep up with, but he went by G Money. That was your first nickname. Multiple nicknames along the way. We had G Money, and then back in the day, Xbox was a big deal. So Banded Ducks, that was the call sign. We had to make sure we're keeping up with the right nicknames. And then we got to high school. One of our best buddies, Greg Godwin, who's no longer with us. If you know Grant, if you've been around him enough, you notice he's always got a smile on his face. But like Miss Rebecca said, he's got a very serious attitude about him most of the time. One day he was walking down the hallway, and Gray leaned over to one of our buddies and goes, "Man, look at Grant. He just looks like he's just ready to beat some A, I mean, mean mugging is as hard as you can. Let's call him Beater." And so, Beater was his name in high school. He hated it, but had to bring it up. But yeah, we really bonded over probably worship nights at Matt Air Guys. I think that was probably what brought us closer. When Gray passed away, we were both 15, 16. That was a really hard time on both of us, and he was a close friend for both of ours, and we really came closer. Movie nights at my house and Hudson's house and your house, and really formed a deeper friendship, just kind of going through that process together. We've been on the international mission field together. We got to go to Nepal together in 2019, something like that. And that was an incredible experience that I'll remember for the rest of my life. I've got a picture of us all on that bridge over my bed. Got to live with Grant for 3 years, and when you live with someone, you get to see all their dirt. You really don't get to, nothing really is hidden. One particular story that comes to mind that I did want to bring up was Grant. When you first started in photography, you got contacted by Ignite Auburn to do a video for them, and I was not super into video at the time. It was not my forte, but I was like, "You guys go film this video. I'm just going to hang out around the house." So him and Hudson and Caleb are the roommates. Went to go film this video, and it's around 10 o'clock at night, and I stayed up. I may or may have not been playing Xbox, cannot confirm nor deny whether that was Fortnite or whatever, but I was awake regardless. And around 3 o'clock in the morning, they come back, and they were both just like death had overcome their face. They were just like, what is, I was like, what's the matter? And they're like, "We're probably going to prison for the rest of our lives." And I was like, "What are we talking about? What happened?" And they told me that they had went to go some abandoned warehouse or something like that over in Opelika, and their vision for the video project was they had this couch that they had found, and they were gonna record a poem or a written word that was gonna be said by one of the lead people for Ignite Auburn, and they were gonna record it once and then record it a second time. But the second time they were gonna douse the couch in kerosene and light it on fire. And this is not on their property. We don't know who the owners were of this warehouse. It was some random project, so totally trespassing. Well, they did that, but they did not exactly know how much kerosene to put on the couch, I guess. So they just dumped the whole bucket on there. And before you know it, the whole building is essentially about to go up in flames after they had lit it. So the way it was told to me, yes. But anyway, so huge couch on fire, big, middle of the night, kind of hard to miss. Cop rolls by as they're jumping out the window of this warehouse, and it doesn't look great on you guys. So y'all ended up getting handcuffed. Did y'all have to go to the trying to get away? Okay, well they ended up, they almost made it. Fleeing the scene, not a great look. Hudson got handcuffed. Correct, yes. So anyway, they ended up letting you guys go because they were going to see if the owner of the warehouse, if the owner of the warehouse was going to press charges or not. So they come back at 3 in the morning, like, "You need to wake up your parents. You need to call your parents. We need to start praying, right now. We cannot have this going on our record." And then around, of course, 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, they called and said he's not going to press charges. But they said, "You cannot tell anybody about this ever, that I was almost an arsonist, a registered arsonist." But got to meet Morgan January or February, I guess, of last year, somewhere around that time. Got to know her really, really well. Went off to Montana. When I came back, Grant was like, all right, we need to talk about this Morgan thing. And like you said, he's very black and white, and so rule with the fellows was you don't date within the fellows. And Grant is like, this is not going to work for me. We got to figure out something. So he came over and we sat on the couch, and he's like, but I can't break the rule. I'm like, you've got 2 weeks left of fellows or whatever it was left. I'm like, just take her on a date. Come on, man. And then I remember one day he called me. He's like, all right, I'm taking her to Spring House. And he's like, I'm as fully confident about this as I have been about everything. And that's about the only time I've ever seen you break rule and be like confident about breaking the rule was for Morgan. So you've made a step in the right direction. That's awesome. That's awesome. But love you both. You know, you mentioned the Jonathan and David thing earlier this week about just kind of our relationship. And I was going back and reading through 1 Samuel the other day, and said there was one thing where they said their souls were knit together with the deepness of their brotherhood. I'm just going to keep talking. And one thing that I noticed also was that it said at one point in time, Jonathan threw his robe over David, and the people were pleased with their union. And I was thinking, there's been so many times in my life where you have thrown your robe metaphorically over me, whether it's been with free counseling sessions, whether it's been us both, having late night talks about the Lord or about our lady problems or whatever it may be, or just stupid arguments that were worthy of a submission to the douchebag jar in the old apartment. But, you've thrown your robe around me so well, and I knew you'd do the same thing for Morgan. So I love you. Toast to Grant and Morgan.
This is fancy. All right. This feels kind of scary being up here. But my name is Sarah Grace. I've been friends with Morgan since we were freshmen in college. I guess we met. So I was thinking about it today, and I was like, wow, it's been like 6 years since we've been friends, and that feels really crazy. And I think about my time in college. A lot of memories are with Morgan, a lot of fun memories, and just being silly together, having a lot of great conversations. But one of my favorite memories happened really all of the summer of 2019, was one of my favorite summers. That summer, Morgan and I went on Summer Beach Project, which is a 9-week discipleship program that Campus Outreach puts on. And I knew that Morgan was going to be in my room, so I was so excited, and I knew that we were going to work together. And I'll never forget, a couple weeks before we go down to Beach Project, I get a phone call that says, Sarah Grace, you're going to be working at Whataburger. And I was like, oh no, Morgan has to work at Whataburger all summer. This is about to be a really long summer. And it was a really long summer, but it was really fun. And I think Morgan worked at Whataburger with such grace, and she really was such a servant leader. But I think that summer was when our friendship really deepened even more than it already was. We got so close that summer, working together, living together, just doing life on life together, and it was such a joy to get to do that with you. But I think my favorite part about that summer was because that was the summer that I watched the Lord just radically change my best friend's heart. And I think that summer had a lot of crazy memories, a lot of funny stories, from insane customers at Whataburger to cockroaches in our room. There was just never really a dull moment. But really my favorite part about that summer was watching Morgan fall in love with Jesus. It was such a wonderful thing to just watch and to be a part of. And yeah, Morgan, your heart for Jesus is encouraging, it's captivating, it's pure, it feels really genuine and honest. And being your friend throughout
college and even after has really made me want to love Jesus even more. And I think that that's such a beautiful trait that you have, is you make people want to know Jesus and love him more. And there's a lot of qualities that I think about when I think of Morgan, a lot of wonderful ones, but I wanted to just hit on 3 of them. And so the first one that comes to mind is just that you're really faithful. Morgan's just really committed to whatever she says yes to, and she really just goes all in. She's super faithful to her friends in the way that she's just really loyal. She's really encouraging, really life-giving. You're committed to school or to any role or position that you've been placed in. You go above and beyond and just do everything with excellence. And Morgan is just really faithful to the Lord. I've just seen that the past few years, that she really does seek to put Jesus first, to fight her sin, and to really just pursue holiness. So I think that Morgan is really, really faithful. I also think that Morgan is really encouraging. The words that you speak to people are really uplifting and really life-giving, and just really honest. And I think that the way you live your life so committed to Jesus is encouraging to the people that are around you and are watching you. And lastly, I think that you're really kind. And that feels like, as I was just thinking about words, I was like, that feels like a cop-out word, like, she's kind. But I think it really is a simple word, but it's much more complex. I think that you're kind just in the way that you're welcoming and initiative and really thoughtful. And you're not just kind because you just like push things under the rug and you just go with the flow, but you're kind because you're willing to stand up for what is right. And you're willing to enter into hard things in order to make things better. And I really think that there's nothing more kind than being willing to do hard things in order to reconcile, to make things right, to glorify God, and to love other people well. And so I think that you have this genuine kindness that really sticks out when I think of you. And so when I think of these characteristics and a lot of other characteristics that Morgan has, I think they all go back to the heart of Jesus. And Jesus' heart was also faithful and encouraging and kind. And I think about how Jesus was perfectly faithful to his Father, even when we're faithless to God. God is still so faithful to us. And God is encouraging to us. He encourages us through his word and through his Spirit and through his people. He isn't a God who tears down, but he's a God who uplifts. And I think that you do that as well so beautifully. And then God is really kind. He's so kind to us in the way that he has initiated towards us first, even when we have rebelled against him. And Jesus is so kind that he wanted to sacrifice his life so that we could be in relationship with him. And just kind enough to love us that while we were sinners, he died for us. And so, Morgan, I think that you beautifully reflect the heart of Jesus in just the way that you live your life and you interact with other people and the way that you love God. And Grant, I'm excited that you are going to get to be on the receiving end of a lot of these characteristics that the Lord has blessed Morgan with. And I'm sure you've already experienced a lot of that, and everyone has if you've been around Morgan. And I don't know if y'all know this, some of y'all probably do, but Morgan has liked Grant for a really long time. She liked Grant before the fellows even began, I feel like. I'll never forget whenever the list, I guess, came out of people who were in the fellows. She probably did what most, okay, chill. What most fellows did was look up a list of, or look everyone up on social media to see what they were like. And so Morgan phone calls me and she's like, look at the screenshot I just sent you. And it was a Facebook post that Grant had made. And I don't remember all the details of it, but I do remember we were reading it together, and it was something about what the Lord had been teaching you, and you just so beautifully wrote what you were feeling and what the Lord was teaching you. And Morgan and I were just so impressed, I guess, with just the way it seemed your heart was for the Lord. And so we kind of were like talking about it, getting kind of excited, and then quickly Morgan remembered the promise that she made to me that she was not going to date in the fellows because she really wanted to take it seriously. But clearly God had another plan for you. But when Morgan talked about Grant to me, I just remember her telling me how much he really just loved Jesus and how much he really pursued him and how intentional he was with the people around him. He would ask them questions and genuinely get to know them. And I feel like I even experienced that with you, Grant. Every time I feel like I'm around you, I feel like you seek to really see me and know me. And it feels really genuine and really kind. And I feel like that sticks out to me. And just a lot of the characteristics that Morgan has talked to me about, a lot of the characteristics of you that I've experienced are so admirable to me and are characteristics that I know that Morgan highly values. So I knew really quickly that this was probably going to be a lasting relationship once y'all started dating. And here we are, the day before y'all's wedding. And that just feels really special. And so I feel really honored to just get to be a part of y'all's big day and to get to celebrate with y'all. And it does feel sad. I'm like, I'm giving my best friend away. But it feels hopeful, and I feel like I can take comfort and rest in knowing that she's marrying you, a man who is going to love her the way that Christ loves the church. And so lastly, just my hopes and my prayer for each of you is that y'all would both experience the gospel in just a whole new way that you haven't gotten to before. And that, Morgan, you would lovingly submit and encourage and serve under Grant's faithful leadership. And that, Grant, you would just sacrifice, protect, and lead with a humble spirit. And I have no doubt that y'all will be able to do that. And I just hope that as you experience more of the gospel in this marriage, that the people around you would also get to experience that too, that they would see a reflection of the gospel through y'all's relationship with one another, and just see how the Lord has chosen to love us as his bride. And I think y'all will reflect that so beautifully. And so I hope you both know that I'm praying for y'all, that I'm rooting for y'all, and I love y'all so much. So cheers to you two, future Mr. and Mrs. Watson.
We get to go together because we're married. Oh, Spencer, you can join? No? Okay. So Wynn and I are both friends with Grant and Morgan. I was friends with Grant in college, and then when Wynn would come visit me at Fellows, she would stay with Morgan, and so they became really good friends. So I'm gonna hand it off to Wynn, and then she'll give it back to me.
Yes. Hello, everyone. All right. Well, I'll get started. A toast to the bride and groom. I thought I'd start my toast at the very beginning for me. It was May of 2020. My boyfriend at the time, Drew, and his friend that I barely knew, Grant, got the news that their plans, like you have mentioned, had fallen through because of COVID for their first post-grad year. Grant was quick on his feet and remembered that the fellows program at Briarwood was somewhere that he had worked over a previous summer, was still taking on fellows. Luckily for all of us, they had 2 spots left for boys. This was fortunate for all of us because he invited Drew to apply with him. Most importantly, that's how the two of you met, but it's also how I met Morgan, which I'll always be thankful for. The program started in September, and one of the first events was a bowling event so that the fellows could all get to know each other. Before bowling, I'd heard from Drew that Grant had noticed one of the fellows girls named Morgan. By the end of the night, I had received this picture with the caption, "Grant Spitting Game." Okay, I didn't realize how far away everyone would be, but I just want everyone to see this. This is a photo. You'll notice there are only 2 people remaining in the bowling alley. That is Morgan and Grant. So,
First night of Fellows.
yeah, first night of fellas.
No dating.
So let's just say that Drew and I had a sneaking suspicion that Morgan would one day be Mrs. Watson, despite the no dating rule that has already been mentioned tonight a few times. A few weeks after the program had started, I made my first visit up to Birmingham to meet the fellows and to see Drew. I'd be lying if I told you that I wasn't nervous about that. The Fellows is a group of 6 girls and 6 guys, so I really didn't see a great spot to be the tag-along girlfriend. I was worried I would be bothersome or just simply in the way of all those close-knit fellows trying to get to know each other. But meeting Morgan changed all that. I'll always remember the first time I met Morgan because she barely knew me, but she immediately ran up to me screaming, "Are you Win? Are you Win?" From then on, I stayed with Morgan when I visited Birmingham every time. That's how our friendship really deepened. We bonded over similar stories and the way that the Lord had worked in both of our lives. We would stay up late, just laughing and talking all weekend. On one of our many late nights together, Morgan and I ended up talking about boys. I asked her, just out of the blue, what her thoughts might be on Grant, to which she responded, "I do think he's cute and I think he's nice. I'd like to get to know him better though. And this one thing bothers me. He doesn't look directly at me during fellows class when I talk." To which I then responded, "Well, Morgan, it seems like you might know how you feel if you're noticing these types of things about him." She went quiet and then she started laughing. That's when I knew that Grant had Morgan's heart. Another fond memory that I have of Grant and Morgan's journey was their first date. It was the last day of fellows, and Grant said he wanted to go big. Together we came up with a plan. He would take Morgan to Spring House on Lake Martin. It's an amazing restaurant. And then he would bring her to Auburn, where the 4 of us would get drinks. Just so you are all officially in the know, this was where their first kiss was. Morgan spent the night with me, and Grant spent the night with Drew. It really was a special memory for the 4 of us, but more importantly, it was the start of your relationship, which has developed into the marriage that we are here tonight celebrating. When I think about Morgan, I think of a woman after God's own heart. Those around her are blessed not only by her hunger for righteousness, but also by her fun-loving spirit. Morgan, I'm thankful for your friendship and God's providence to put us together. I pray that the comforting joy of knowing Christ will capture you and Grant for all of your days on life's adventure. As I was thinking about this day, I stumbled across a liturgy entitled, "For Those Gathered on the Eve of a Wedding." It seemed awfully fitting. These are the words that caught my attention in particular, so I wanted to share them with all of you. May the world be better loved because of your passion for one another. May your souls be shaped through joy and sorrow alike by long obedience to those good promises. May your shared story be one of courage and creativity, of conviction and compassion as you co-labor in the light of that better kingdom of which you are true citizens. And let your lives together be woven as a parable of hope in a world desperate for visible evidences that the eternal longing for redemption and reconciliation is real, and that the glorious rumors of divine love and mercy are true in Jesus. Oh, sorry, I'm getting a little teary. It's my honor and great joy to stand beside these 2 tonight and forever. I will always be cheering you on. I said I wouldn't do this. Now, will you all raise a glass with me and cheers to the future Watsons?
That was beautiful. Don't expect something so heartfelt from me. So, I met Grant in college. Grant was in my wedding. A lot of the guys here were in my wedding. Our friend groups overlapped. And so as I was preparing for this toast, I remembered Grant's toast, and Nolan's toast, and Luke's toast. And, you know, a lot of the toasts in my wedding were very heartfelt, very loving. Some of them were not. Some of them took it as a time to make jokes at my expense. Grant was one of those people. And so as I was thinking about what I was going to say, I really had to take the time to think. What direction is this going to go, Grant? There's a fork in the road right now, and I want you to squirm a little bit. Yeah. But I'm a nice guy, and my wife is kind, and she's softened my heart, so I'm going to go the kind direction, Grant. And maybe you can learn something from that. So Grant and I met in school. We were fast friends, and luckily, like his mom said, we were both going to go to Huntsville and do ministry together, and that didn't work out. And so it was really cool to see that I had kind of been the connection to Huntsville because I'm from there. And then when we both didn't have anything to do, Grant really forced my hand. Was like, hey, you really need to apply for this. Like, you actually need to do the fellows program. And so he basically semi-applied for me, and I'm thankful for it. So similar situation. Before fellows even started, we had these Skype meetings where we all had to get to know each other and whatever, and Grant and I, both being in Auburn, being friends, would always hop on together, and we would mute ourselves. And so Morgan would be on there, and I would immediately just start giving Grant a hard time about how he was going to end up dating Morgan, how they were going to end up together, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, dude, no, stop. No, it's against the rules. Ugh. And I'm like, Grant, who cares about the rules? He's like, me. And so that, we get to fellows. Wynn and I are secretly in the background, rooting it on all along. And there's this one night where we all went out to eat. Long story short, Morgan offended Grant, and we get back to the apartment where Grant and I are living, and he is fuming. I can't believe she would say that. Oh my, how do you think that makes me feel? Blah, blah, blah. Just irate, like what Parker said. He's just ready to beat some A, He's ready to beat some A. And I'm like, Grant, I'm just gonna say it. Like, you really care what this girl thinks about you. He's like, oh, I don't know what that's supposed to mean. I'm like, I'm just saying it. You really seem to notice what she thinks of you and what she has to say. He's like, I don't know about that. So time continues to go on. Morgan ends up getting asked on a date later on in the year by somebody else. And Grant does not like that. And so Grant, again, Parker has said this, everybody's kind of said this, the rule follower of rule followers is like, to hell with the rules. I am taking this girl on a date today. And so they go on a date, and it ends up working out, and they end up dating. And I remember one of the first times we all hung out as a friend group in Birmingham. We went out to get drinks, and we came back, and I'm laying in bed, and I'm about to go to sleep. And Grant, again, is a very regimented guy. When we get home, he's ready to go to bed. He doesn't want to chat. But he comes to my door, and he just leans up against the door, and he's just looking at me, and I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, why are you? I'm getting ready for bed, dude. And he's like, I'm going to marry that girl. I just want you to know. I was like, okay, buddy, I'd love to see it, but I'm trying to go to bed. So maybe we can talk about this in the morning. But he was right. He called his shot. And Morgan, I'm extremely thankful that Grant has found you. I used to joke about this in college, and I sincerely meant it. I used to joke that if anybody ever stole my girlfriend, I would be pissed, unless it was Grant, because I'd be like, I can't even blame her. Like, he's just a rock star. Like, he's actually that solid of a guy. And there's nobody my age that I admire more, look up to more than you. You've always been steady, straight as an arrow. And one of the beautiful things about marriage, actually, is that, as you can tell, Wynn prepped this beautiful speech. We went over it, we took notes, we printed out a thing, and she's like, well, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I'm just going to get up there and start talking. And there's that yin and yang and that pull of rule follower, not rule follower. Grant and I were that way in our friendship. Grant's a rule follower. I am not a rule follower. It's similar with y'all. And so it's beautiful to see. I've already seen you growing and the way she's pulling you, and Morgan, you growing in the way Grant's pulling you. And it's an honor to be a part of you guys' lives. We're thankful to have been a part of it from the beginning, and we're looking forward to being a part of it going forward. So we're grateful to be here. We always knew we were going to be here. And so I just want to encourage you guys to soak it in, enjoy it, remember the ride and how you got here. And this really is the start of your life. Everything has been leading up to this moment. And tomorrow is when it really starts. You get to start all over with each other. You're not going to really remember a life before one another pretty soon. And that's a gift, and that's a beautiful thing. So anyways, cheers to the Watsons. We love you guys.
I think this is officially open now.
I'm only here because I'm on my way to the bathroom. But I am going to go to the... I did shorten this. Yeah, that's right. I actually am going to go to the bathroom after this, though. But, no, I was thinking about... My name is Luke. I lived with Grant. I lived with Grant for, I guess, the majority of the time that he was dating Morgan. So I was witness to the emotional roller coaster that was Grant dating. But I was thinking about what to say. I was thinking, I've been trying to memorize scripture more. So like a verse, this is good, I promise. A verse that I think summarizes Grant really well is in Psalm 1, and it says, "Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked, nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of scoffers, but his delight is in the law of the Lord, and on that law he meditates day and night." And I've always thought that Grant really embodies that. And I want you to know that, Morgan, and I know you know that. But likewise, in Proverbs it says, charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman who loves the Lord is to be more valuable than gold and jewels. And Morgan is all three of those things, but one of them is much more valuable than the others. Know that. And I could have ended it there. And I was thinking, what other verses could I talk about? And I realized my knowledge of Scripture really kind of tanks pretty quickly. So I was like, what else do I got? So Jesus wept. Got that down. Judges 15:15. Samson took the jawbone of an ass and killed 3,000 Philistines. That does not matter at all for this. I have always wanted to say that into a microphone. But no, and I won't take up too much more of your time, but there is a story, and I've been blessed to be able to speak at a few of these things. And there's a story from the Bible that I've always meant to tell at a rehearsal dinner, and I never felt like it was the right time. But I feel like it was, and I'm being serious. I think this felt right this time. So in the Old Testament, there's two brothers named Jacob and Esau, and many of you know it. But so they're twins. Esau is older, Jacob is younger, and Jacob is only what we can describe where I come from as a no-good shyster. And he steals his brother Esau's birthright, which is a big deal back then, and his brother Jacob is forced to flee to his uncle Laban. And Jacob gets to his uncle Laban's farm, or whatever you want to call it, and falls in love with Laban's daughter, Rachel. Please ignore the fact that they're related. But he does. He falls in love with Rachel, and he says to Laban, "I would like to marry your daughter Rachel." And Laban says to him, "If you work for me for 7 years, I will let you marry my daughter Rachel." And I think it's telling about Jacob, but also about you, Grant, that Jacob had a choice. He could have been frustrated, he could have left, he could have asked himself, is this girl worth it? And maybe he did all those things. But we know from the story that he put his head down and he worked for 7 years because he loved that woman. And then it came time, 7 years come up, and he comes to his Uncle Laban and he says, let me marry Rachel. And it's unclear what happened, but Jacob wakes up after the wedding and realizes he has not married Rachel, he has actually married Rachel's older sister. We call this, where I'm from, the old bait and switch. It appears that Laban also is a shyster. But no, Jacob says to Laban, what have you done to me? I wanted to marry Rachel. And Laban says, if you work for me for 7 more years, I will let you marry Rachel, the woman you love. And now I know surely, that Jacob was angry and frustrated and not sure what to do. And he could have left. Many people would have. And he didn't. He put his head down and he worked for 7 more years. And I don't know the verse or what chapter it is, but I know that there is a verse in the Bible that says, and the years felt as but days because of the great love that Jacob had for Rachel. And living with you, Grant, I realized that long distance was hard. Even whenever Morgan lived here, it was difficult. And questions and wondering, who am I to marry? Where is the Lord leading me? But I would be willing to bet that years from now, months from now, maybe even right now, surely tomorrow, I truly believe that you will look back and realize that every mile marker, every time you got in that car and thought, do I really want to drive to Oxford? Or every time Morgan said, do I really want to drive to Birmingham to see this guy? Or maybe every time that you thought, I cannot wait to see this girl. Every mile marker, every tank of gas, every mile, hour, second, all of it. Very soon it will feel as but days because of the great love that you have for each other. And all of that love stems from the fact that you both deeply, deeply love Christ. And I think that is a beautiful thing. And I am so blessed to know both of you. Grant, you are my brother for life. Know that. And Morgan, there are many women on this planet, half of them apparently, and there are none like you. And there are none that I would want to marry my friend Grant. But even for the sake of argument, if there was one that could marry Grant, I know for a fact that this woman does not hold a candle to you because you would run over and knock that damn thing right out of her hand. But I would be right there with you because nobody deserves Grant but you. Truly, praise God for all good things, which I say a lot, almost to the point of diluting it, but truly, knowing you is a blessing and praise God for all good things. So I am going to go to the restroom now.
Does anybody else have a toast they'd like to do? All right. If not, I'm shaking heads no, but we got a little video down here that we hope that it's going to work well. So if it doesn't work, it's not our fault. It's look, he's crawling under the table down there. So, but if you like, you can come down and watch it. It's down on that end. So thank y'all again for coming tonight. We appreciate everything and all the wonderful words spoken. So thank you.
We had some obvious technical difficulties, so at Brody. But yes, if you'd like to give a toast, great. If you don't, also great. So we'll give that up.
All right. Grant, I know you're one just dying for affirmation, so we will continue the encouraging speeches. And I love how, like Drew pointed out, it was me and you leading the charge at Drew's wedding with a really thoughtful toast to our appreciation for Drew. And unfortunately, a lot of what I would share about you can't be shared in this setting, but I do think one story that I've always loved is, and by the way, I'm Nolan. I haven't even introduced myself. I was Pledge Brothers with Grant, and we decided to go to Minneapolis to Auburn's Final Four game. We decided to go with two other farmhouses who were absolutely no help driving the 40 total hours. And there was one point where, so we get up there, we lose the game. Everybody probably knows that. And me and Grant, though, we had just turned 21, and we were like, man, win or lose, we'll have a good time. We'll go get a beer. We'll go to a bar, whatever. We're going to stay. And then little did we know the way the game ended, I was like, I hate this place. This place can burn. If you're from Minneapolis, sorry. But yeah, so we get right back in the car. We stop at a Subway and we get back. And we have a 10-hour drive to St. Louis, I think. And so Grant is driving the whole way. And it gets to be 3:30 in the morning. And we're still in the car. I'm passed out in the passenger seat. The two guys in the back are absolutely no help. They're like grandpas. And I wake up and I look over at Grant, and Grant's eyes are half shut driving. And I'm like, this doesn't seem good. Because we had 3 hours to St. Louis. We didn't want to stop for a hotel. My mom was, for some reason, up freaking out, trying to get us to stop at a hotel. We said, of course, we're not going to do that. We don't want to spend money. And so I look over at Grant, and we basically said, shoot, we have 3 hours left. And so he tells me to pull up this playlist they had. We're listening to some preacher that sounded like he was 80 years old. It was terrible. It was putting us to sleep. And I am a Christian, by the way, but at 3:30 in the morning, I don't really want to listen to an old preacher. And so Grant, half asleep, and I'm more asleep than Grant. He says, all right, look up this playlist. It's called MS. And the first thing I thought about was not how I was about to pull up a middle school hip-hop playlist. And so we pull it up, though, and I pick my favorite song, and then little did I know that Grant also still loved these songs, and so we started screaming Stereo Hearts by Gym Class Heroes, and it was amazing. And then the last 3 hours were a breeze, and we made it. And then we lived, and here we are. And now you get to marry Morgan. But man, I love you, and I think back to our time in Farmhouse. I think back to our Friday lunches. I think back to our mutual hatred for lack of social awareness. Dan Stahl, I wish he was here. Could laugh at him and make fun of him. But man, I love you. Everybody said you're a great accountability partner. You definitely have been to me. In more ways than one. And I know that the way that you love me and have loved your friends is also going to translate to you, Morgan. And I like what Parker said about him putting his robe around you, and he will. Because nobody that Grant's friends with feels as if he's unintentional or feels as if he doesn't care about them. Everybody that Grant is friends with knows that he cares for them by the questions he asks, by the time that he wants to spend with them, by the fun that they have with them, and just by the kind of guy that he is. Another thing that Parker even said at the bachelor party is that nobody's ashamed to be associated with you, Grant. And I think today that means a lot. And so I love you, I love y'all, I'm thankful for y'all, and I can't wait for tomorrow. So cheers, Grant.
My name's Ronnie. That's my sister. That's my brother-in-law. And I'm completely and utterly proud to say that in front of everybody. And that's my niece. And the reason I say this is they have done something that I don't see very often. Let me explain. I've been an educator for 29 years, going on 30 years. Coach football, teach high school. And young people like Morgan don't come along very often. When we are teaching, we don't get to see that caliber of kid. So we call them unicorns. Very, very rare breed. And my sister and my brother-in-law have raised something that I don't see often, and she has found her unicorn. Because you can hear all the love that comes from his friends, everything that everybody says about him. And of course, being her uncle, I'm very protective of my unicorn. So I live in Birmingham. The rest of the family lives on the coast. So Grant is going to come meet the family. And I love my family dearly, but we have some very big personalities. So Morgan comes to the house and says, he'll be here in about 30 minutes. Uncle Ronnie, please be nice. Papa, I like him, please be nice. Daddy, I like him, please be nice. We all look at each other and said, we're fixing to find out what he's made of. That's our job, right? So in walks Grant. He's got a smile on his face, doesn't have that serious scowl. And the first thing we do is we put him through what I like to call his paces. We make him sit down and play a game with us. I don't remember if it was dominoes, it was something, but that's what we do. We have game night. And game night is a lot of pressure. Code names. And game night is a lot of pressure. And he handled it like a champ. No, that was not going to happen. There was no way. No, that's not going to happen. You don't come into a Clemens Dunaway family game night and win right off the bat. But he handled it like a champ. And as he walked out, like Dad said, he's going to be all right. So from that point on, we were very happy, and we feel very blessed that Grant's going to be a part of our family, and that he's going to be my niece's unicorn. And the only advice that I would give you is to remember that the most valuable thing that you have is your time. And it doesn't matter whether you're spending your time with each other or you're spending it in the Word. Make sure that it's always what you understand is valuable. Because for both of you, it's the best thing that you can give each other. So congratulations to our unicorns. Thank you.
Shorter here. My name is Chris. I am the brother of Mo, future brother-in-law of Grant, and couldn't be happier. I just want to, first and foremost, just praise God. Really just praise God for all the influences here. When the Lord's doing one thing, He's doing a million. And I guess we could all attest to that. And, I want to just first and foremost, just want to thank the Lord for His salvation upon Grant and Mo. What a beautiful thing for a God who is holy, set apart. His ways aren't like our ways. Even if we tried to understand Him, we couldn't. He is the one who calls eternity from past and present. He calls things into existence that do not exist. He calls the end from the beginning. It says in His Word that the heavens and the highest heavens could not contain Him. And so, what a kindness from Him to give us this day to present a picture of his love for us and giving us his son, Christ, the unblemished one, the one who did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped. He humbled himself and became obedient to the point of death on a cross. This isn't history. This isn't just sentiment. This is truth. God became flesh and wrapped himself in humility and became obedient to the point of death on a cross. And that's what unites these two here, is the beauty of the gospel. And I fall short of that. Each one of you know that you fall short of that. And so, praise God for sending us the one who did not count equality a thing to be grasped, but humbled himself to the point of death on a cross. And I'm thankful for God. I'm thankful that he sent his son, born of a virgin, born under the law to redeem us, each one of us, to redeem us from that law, becoming a curse for us, for those who were under a curse. He was hung on a tree. He bled and died, and he rose again from that cross, and is ascended on high. He was put in a grave. What humility! The one who speaks things into existence that do not exist. He was put into a grave, and he rose from that grave. And we celebrate that today. We celebrate the death and resurrection and the currently heavenly reign. He didn't stay in that grave. He rose again on the third day. And I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for Christ. And so, Grant, I praise God. This is Wyndham Hardy. I'm thankful, Grant, the Lord's provision in Mo's life for you. I honestly have prayed for you. I'm thankful. This is a true testament. The Lord hears our prayer, and I'm thankful for that. Mo, I love you dearly. There's nothing that can. I'm just thankful to God for you. I'm thankful that I'm not only your sister by family, but by the blood of Christ. And that's just a beautiful thing. That nothing can separate us now. I pray tomorrow that each one of us would see that this is not just two individuals coming together to say I do, but this is a picture of the gospel. The gospel. That God in humility gave us access to him. We all have fallen short, and if we are true with ourselves, and I can attest that we have fallen short, but God in his humility and kindness gives us his son. And that this picture, I pray for y'all's marriage. I pray that your marriage imperfectly shows and displays that. And so I'm thankful to be a part of that. Thank y'all for inviting us, each one of us, to be a part of that and to witness this covenant. Grant, thankful for you, brother. I'm thankful to hear this testament of the Lord's kindness and mercy in each one of y'all's lives. And Mo, I love you dearly. I'm thankful for this time to celebrate you too. I pray that the Lord would give you each one just grace to extend love when it's not merited. This is nice and it's fun, right? There's going to be raw moments, and I pray the Lord would strengthen you too, and that he would be the one that y'all stand upon. And so here's a toast to the two of these for eternity. I love you too. Grace and peace be multiplied to you all. Grace and peace.
My name is, sorry, I'm not real tall. My name is P.A. Carmichael, and my husband Beatty is over there. And he and I had the privilege of hosting Morgan in our home while she did the Fellows Program. And I consider her like my second daughter. I love her so much, and Grant, we love you. And your bedroom is always open. That's called Morgan's room up in our home. That's where Morgan stayed. And after she moved out, I went up there, and it was just so lonely without her. And Morgan and I have just had a lot of special lunch dates together. We like similar things, and even all my kids, just like, even James, my oldest, said Morgan is like my adopted sister, and we just love her. And Grant, we love you too. And I never will forget when you picked up Morgan from our home for your first date, and that's just will be embedded in my memory for a long time. You wore your beautiful red dress, and Betty and I had the privilege of seeing the two of you off on your first date, and we feel very honored to be a part of that as part of your lasting relationship. And I'm just want to say, may God richly bless your marriage and for many years to come. And before I close, one little bit of advice: make sure you always have a date night, because that's the thing that's kept the two of us, my husband and I, our marriage strong, is taking that one night a week to have a date night. And so just want to say, may God richly bless both of you, and I'm just so happy for both of you. So cheers to Grant and Morgan.
This is so special. And if you've experienced before, you probably are maybe reliving some of these moments you've had with your husband or with your wife. We just feel incredibly cared for and seen and valued. And we thank you so much for coming, driving this way, flying all this way over here. Thank you, Mr. Rebecca and Mr. Steve and Miss Mary, wherever you're at. This is beautiful, and I love I just love to see what you've done and taken time to really mull over the details. I see your care for me through all this, so thank you. Caroline, I'm so excited to be your sister. I think you're beautiful inside and out, and I want to learn from you. So I'm excited to see you on holidays and cheer you on in nursing school. Tonight, I really, really want to acknowledge Grant's groomsmen. Grant's groomsmen. Our relationship is better because of you, and I know you know that. It's hard to date. It's not an easy thing sometimes. And so you loved Grant, you championed Grant, you just put him back where he needed to be when he was straying, Luke, Drew. And so I just want to say thank you, because I see the work that you put in, and Grant loves me better because of it. So thank you. And thank you to my bridesmaids. It's been so fun. Y'all are such special people to me, and I handpicked you for a reason. So I hope you know you're loved and cared for. And
thanks to my mom and my dad. It's been such a fun 8 months to prepare this wedding. And I just want to make a covenant at the end of the day, even if none of this is here and we only have 2 people come. It's so special because it'll be a covenant with Grant and the Lord. And that's what I've wanted since I've met Grant, is to make a covenant with you. It's fun to be by your side, to be your best friend. And I can't wait to dream with you and just to go on walks with you, to hold your hand, but most importantly, to worship with you. I think it's been beautiful and such a joy. And I can't believe that the Lord gives us salvation and then gives us marriage. Like, it's such an honor to walk into this. So I just want to say a big thank you, and we're so excited for tomorrow.
Well, that's tough to follow. Yeah, there are a few moments in life that are as special as moments like this. And people have been asking me, how have I been feeling? And it's really hard to describe how I'm feeling, because you have some of your best friends and then the people that you love most all in a room and tell you nice things. You know, how are you supposed to feel? And I think one word that would describe that is just overwhelmed with love and gratitude for my friends, for being there for me, not only through this dating relationship and engagement, but yeah, just walking with me hand in hand through life. Mom and Dad, thank you so much for all that you have done. I love you so much. Caroline, I love you dearly. I always have an amazing time with you, and I'm always laughing, no matter what. Miss Kim, Mr. Buddy, thank you so much for just raising an amazing woman, and I'm proud that I'm going to be able to call her my wife tomorrow. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who's come tonight. You know, we would not be here without all of you guys. And I don't just say that just to say something nice, but I say that and mean that. Yeah, all of y'all have left a huge imprint on Morgan and I's life. And when people see Morgan and I, they see little moments from each of you that you have poured into our lives. And we are just so indebted to all of y'all. Just for all of these small moments that you didn't think were important, encouraging us, spurring us on, and we just want to say thank you. And my prayer for tomorrow, as Morgan and I are getting married, that yes, it'll be fun, we'll celebrate, but man, my prayer for tomorrow is that Christ would be glorified. Because at the end of the day, that is what this marriage is about. Marriage is a small, dim picture of a much greater marriage to come between Christ and his bride, which is the church. And I pray and I encourage and challenge, if you do not know Jesus Christ and he is not your Savior, please think about that. Like, if that's all you hear from our wedding, that is mission accomplished. That is the most important thing that we can encourage you and challenge you to think about and to cherish. And so we just pray as Morgan looks beautiful in white tomorrow, and as I wait for her, that y'all see Jesus and the church tomorrow. A beautiful metaphor of a much more beautiful reality. And so If you have any questions about that, please come and talk to one of us. We would love to tell you more about it. Thank y'all so much. We love all y'all, and we hope y'all had a great time tonight.